The hum of my office computer was usually a comforting sound, a steady rhythm in my carefully ordered life. Today, it just felt like white noise, a backdrop to the familiar low thrum of anxiety that had started in my gut the moment my sister called. My name is Chloe, and if you know me, you know I am the responsible one. The planner. The one who keeps receipts. The one who, for 28 years, had been the unofficial financial first responder for my family. My sister, Stella, was the opposite. She was the wildfire, beautiful, unpredictable, leaving a trail of delightful chaos and expecting someone else to put out the flames. Growing up, everything was about Stella's latest passion, her latest need. Her art supplies, her spontaneous trips, her seemingly endless string of brilliant ideas that never panned out. And my parents, Robert and Carolyn, were the enablers, convinced Stella was just finding herself, while I was just Chloe, the one who could handle things. The one whose college fund mysteriously evaporated when Stella needed seed money for a pottery phase that lasted 6 weeks. The one who emptied her savings account to cover Dad's unexpected medical bills because Stella needed the car Mom had promised me for a life-changing road trip. You get the picture. I learned early that my resources were considered community property, available whenever Stella had a whim or the parents decided family helps family. Which brought me to the call this morning. Stella's voice, thick with manufactured tears, spilled through the receiver. Chloe, you have to help me. Daniel and I, the bank. Daniel, her partner. Another dreamer, less wildfire, more like a damp match that never quite lights. Together, they were a perfectly inefficient engine fueled by optimism and zero execution. Their latest venture? An eco-friendly mobile pet spa and wellness boutique. Complete with aromatherapy options for Pomeranians and organic vegan treats baked in the van. The idea itself was absurd. A trend-chasing fantasy with no business plan beyond people love their pets. But Stella was convinced it was their ticket to riches. The bank, bless their cautious hearts, was not convinced. They needed a cosigner. A real one. Someone with a credit score that wasn't underwater. That someone, of course, was me. It's $50,000, Stella, I said, my voice flat. I was sitting at my desk, staring at a spreadsheet that detailed my monthly budget, every dollar accounted for. I know, she sobbed dramatically. But it's going to be huge. Daniel's cousin said the market is exploding. We just need this one chance. The bank said you have the perfect credit score, Chloe. You're the only one. Why don't you and Daniel have a good credit score? I asked, though I knew the answer. Unpaid bills, maxed out cards, abandoned leases. That's not fair. Her tone shifted from pleading to indignant. We've had challenges. Life is hard. But this time is different. We'll pay you back immediately, I swear. The profits will be insane. Then Mom got on the phone, her voice laced with that familiar blend of sweetness and steel. Chloe, darling, please. Your sister needs you. It's what family does. Your father and I are already listed as guarantors, offering the lake cabin as collateral. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. The lake cabin. The place where I spent summers, promised to me one day as an inheritance, now quietly tied up in Stella's latest flight of fancy. They were already financially involved, putting their own asset at risk, however small they thought their liability was. And they were using it, leveraging it, to guilt me. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. How many times had I heard that? It translated to, we've enabled Stella into another mess, and now we need you, the reliable one, to clean it up or share the risk. But something shifted inside me this time. It wasn't just weariness. It was a cold, hard clarity. They expected me to be the safety net, the fool who took on the debt. Fine. I would take on the debt. But this time, the net would have a hole, and I would choose who fell through it. Okay, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Send me the paperwork. I'll co-sign. A squeal of delight from Stella, a relieved sigh from Mom. They thanked me profusely, showering me with empty promises and declarations of love. I listened, a detached part of me noting the familiar script. This time, though, I wasn't just playing along. I was writing a new ending. The call ended. I closed my budget spreadsheet and opened a new document. It was time to call Genesis. Genesis was more than my lawyer friend. She was my confidant, the only person who truly understood the exhausting dynamic of my family. We met for coffee, the kind of strong black coffee that could cut through emotional fog. I laid it all out. Stella's absurdity, Daniel's uselessness, my parents' endless enabling, the $50,000 loan, the lake cabin collateral, the pressure, my agreement. Genesis listened, her expression shifting from knowing sympathy to sharp interest when I explained my idea. You don't just want to protect yourself, she observed. You want accountability. For everyone. They always push the consequences onto me, I said, the resentment tight in my chest. They enable her, she creates the mess, I pay the price, they get off scot-free, ready to do it again. This time, I want them to feel what it's like. All of them. We talked for hours, fueled by coffee and a shared sense of righteous strategy. Genesis connected me with a colleague who specialized in complex loan agreements and contractual clauses. We worked through the legal labyrinth. The key was the parents being guarantors, even minor ones, and tying their liability directly to Stella and Daniel's actions beyond just simple default. The clause we crafted was a masterpiece of legalistic obscurity. Buried deep within the boilerplate language of the cosigner agreement, it stipulated that in the event of default where the primary borrowers, Stella and Daniel, abandoned the stated business premises and relocated outside the state without establishing a verifiable, independently managed repayment plan, the entire remaining loan liability, irrespective of any initial proportional guarantees, would transfer solely and irrevocably to the identified secondary guarantors, Robert and Carolyn. It sounded technical, like standard bank speak about contingencies. Something busy, non-detail-oriented people would skim right over. We spent the next few weeks refining it, ensuring it was legally sound and airtight. Meanwhile, Stella and Daniel were too busy celebrating their impending entrepreneurial success to read any fine print. The day of the signing arrived. We gathered at the bank. Stella was buzzing with energy, dressed in an outfit that probably cost half a loan payment. Daniel nodded along vaguely. Robert and Carolyn were relaxed, exchanging pleasantries with the loan officer, Mr. Thompson. They signed their guarantor forms quickly, barely glancing at them. Just tell us where to initial. Dad chuckled. Mom fussed about Stella's big day. When the large stack of loan documents was passed to me, my hands were steady. I knew exactly where to insert the pages Genesis had prepared, blending seamlessly with the bank's forms. I signed my name clearly, right below the new clause. I looked up to see Stella already halfway out the door, talking about paint colors for the mobile spa unit. Daniel was on his phone. My parents were discussing dinner plans. No one was paying attention. I'll need copies of everything for my records, I said, my voice calm. For my own financial tracking. No one objected. Why would they? It was just responsible Chloe doing her responsible thing. The eco-friendly mobile pet spa and wellness boutique, open with great fanfare on Stella's social media. In reality, it was a repainted old van parked in questionable locations. I watched from a distance, via social media and a few discreet inquiries. The initial hype faded quickly. Complaints about missed appointments and poorly groomed pets started appearing on local review sites. A planned launch event involved the mobile unit getting a flat tire and blocking traffic. A staff member quit after one day, citing unrealistic expectations and aromatherapy for hamsters. Stella and Daniel's social media posts shifted. The cheerful spa updates dwindled, replaced by cryptic quotes about embracing change and finding freedom. Then came the announcement. They were relocating for an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in Arizona. Their van was gone. The leased parking spot was empty. They simply vanished. The first loan payment came due and went unpaid. Then the second. And the third. Bank notices started arriving at my apartment. I collected them, dating each one. I took screenshots of Stella's Instagram posts showing her and Daniel smiling on a desert hike, captions like, "Living our best life. So glad we left the negativity behind. Hashtag debt-free, hashtag manifesting abundance." Debt-free. The audacity was breathtaking. My parents started calling. "Chloe, we're getting these strange calls from the bank. Something about the loan? Can you just handle it? You're so good with money things." They sounded annoyed, inconvenienced, not panicked. They still had no idea. I told them I was looking into it, calmly documenting their calls and texts asking me to intervene. Genesis checked in. Any movement? They've defaulted. They've abandoned the business. They've left the state. I have proof of all of it. Documentation airtight? Every email, every post, every notice. And a signed contract. Good, Genesis said. Now we wait for the collection agency. That's when the fun starts. The wait wasn't easy. There was a part of me, the old Chloe, that felt the familiar pull of responsibility, the urge to just pay it and make the problem go away. But I looked at the spreadsheet, the years of quiet financial bleeding, the sacrifices they had demanded, and the casual way they expected me to clean up this latest mess. No, not this time. About 6 months after Stella and Daniel vanished, my phone rang with an unknown number. I answered. It was a stern voice from a collection agency confirming I was listed as a co-signer for a defaulted business loan. I calmly confirmed my identity, then informed him that I had documentation regarding the loan, including a specific clause that transferred liability under certain conditions and proof that those conditions had been met. I gave him Genesis's contact information and offered to send him the relevant documents immediately. His tone shifted slightly. Intrigued. Less than 24 hours later, my phone started ringing nonstop. My parents. Their voices were not annoyed anymore. They were frantic. Chloe, what is happening? These people. A collection agency. They say we owe $50,000. This must be a mistake. We only signed as something small. A formality. My mother's voice was shrill, bordering on hysterical. Calm down, Mom, I said, my voice even. Find your copy of the loan agreement. Go to section 7.3. Read it. Silence on the line, punctuated by rustling paper and Mom's ragged breathing. I could picture them, shuffling through documents, their faces pale as they scanned the dense paragraph. More silence. Finally, a whispered accusation. You tricked us. No, Mom, I said, a cold satisfaction spreading through me. I didn't trick you. I used the lessons you taught me. It's what family does, remember? You signed the contract. You agreed to be guarantors. You tied the lake cabin to the loan. You enabled Stella, and you pushed the responsibility onto me. The contract simply reflects the consequences of those choices. My father got on the phone, his voice shaking. Your mother's blood pressure. How could you be so cruel? Cruel. I repeated, the word tasting like ash. Was it cruel when I paid for Dad's heart medication while Stella was finding herself in Paris on money you expected me to cover? Was it cruel when my college fund paid for her art phase? You always told me I was stronger, that I could handle things. This is me handling it. You need to handle your part now. We'll call Stella. She'll fix this. Mom cried. I almost laughed. Good luck with that. Her number's probably disconnected, and even if it wasn't, she won't. She never does. That's why we're here. I ended the call. My hands were shaking slightly, but my mind was clear. The trap had sprung. The next few days were a whirlwind of frantic communication from my parents. They tried every angle, emotional blackmail, blaming Stella entirely, while still expecting me to fix it, bringing up old memories, even attempting veiled threats about my place in the family. I remained firm, directing them to the collection agency and the contract they signed. Meanwhile, Genesis updated me on Stella and Daniel. The debt notice was hitting their credit reports nationally. Abandoning a business also came with its own set of legal issues: unpaid suppliers, local permits, potential small claims suits. Their carefree new life was becoming complicated. One afternoon, while I was at my desk, my mother, Carolyn, walked into my office. She looked awful, eyes red and puffy, her usual impeccable appearance rumpled. She sank into a chair, pulling out a monogrammed handkerchief. They're threatening to put a lien on the house, Chloe, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Your childhood home. I looked up from my computer, meeting her gaze. The same house you remortgaged to help fund Stella's previous opportunities? The same house you tied to this loan as collateral? That childhood home. That was different. Stella had potential. And I didn't. I asked quietly. Is that why my future, was always negotiable when Stella needed something? She dabbed at her eyes. We just borrowed from your college fund. We intended to pay it back. Borrowing implies returning, I said, opening a file on my computer. Would you like to see the exact amount with interest that you borrowed from my college fund? Or perhaps the breakdown of the $28,000 I paid for Dad's surgery while Stella was… Where was it? Oh yes, finding herself in Europe. I slid the screen slightly so she could see the detailed spreadsheet. Years of receipts, transfers, canceled checks, all meticulously logged. Her face paled further. We're not here to dwell on the past. Oh, but we are, I said. Because the past is why we are here now. You taught me the value of keeping receipts, Mom. Financial receipts and emotional ones. Just then, my junior associate, Thomas, knocked nervously. Miss Chloe, I need a favor. Could you possibly co-sign the requisition for the new Miller account software? It's just a formality. I looked at Thomas, then back at my mother, then at the spreadsheet on my screen. No, I said, my voice clear and strong. I don't co-sign anything anymore. Thomas blinked, surprised. My mother looked away, her face a mask of shame or perhaps just frustration that I wouldn't buckle. The collection agency is being reasonable, I continued, turning back to my mother. They accept payment plans. $50,000 over, say, 5 years? That's manageable. Especially if you sell the lake cabin you tied to the loan. But that was going to be your inheritance, she stammered. Was it? I countered. Just like my college fund was going to be my future? Just like Dad's health was your priority? Funny how priorities shift. And speaking of priorities, my phone buzzed. It was a video call request from Stella. I answered it, putting it on speaker, turning the screen slightly towards my mother. Stella's face appeared, streaked with tears, a look of furious panic in her eyes. Behind her, Daniel was pacing, talking rapidly on his phone. You evil witch, Chloe. Stella shrieked. Mom just called me. How could you do this to them? To our parents. The same way you did it to me, Stella, I replied calmly. Except I used a contract, not tears and guilt trips. But we're family. Exactly, I said, meeting my mother's gaze. And this is what family does, remember? I looked at Daniel pacing in the background. Having visa troubles, Daniel? I asked innocently. It's amazing how quickly things unravel when a national debt notice pops up with your name on it, especially if there are questions about how the initial loan funds were used. Stella's eyes widened. How did you? Consequences, I said. Isn't that what Mom always told me would happen? Usually right before asking me to fix one of your messes. Stella's face crumpled. They're freezing our accounts. Daniel's partners are backing out. Everything we built here. You built nothing, Stella, I cut in, my voice sharp. You ran away from debt and responsibility, just like you always do. The only difference is, this time the cleanup crew isn't coming. Girls, please. My mother interjected weakly. We can fix this, Chloe. If you just pay. No, I stood up, indicating the door. My 2 o'clock is here. You know where to find the collection agency's number. I suggest you call them before they call again. My mother stood slowly, defeated. She walked towards the door, then turned back. You'll regret this someday, Chloe. When you need your family. I've needed my family many times, I said. Where were you? After she left, my office was silent except for the hum of the computer. My hands were trembling, but a strange sense of peace settled over me. That evening, I received a text from Ryan, my ex-boyfriend, who had witnessed some of the past family dramas. Just saw something online about Stella? And your parents? Are you okay? I'm fine, Ryan, I texted back. Good, he replied quickly. It's about time someone took care of you. A new message popped up. From Daniel. Using a different number. Real cute, Chloe. Sierra's crying. Hope you're happy. You think you won? I know things about your company. Things that could hurt your career. Want to reconsider your position. I reread the text. A threat. Against my career, my stability. This wasn't just about debt anymore. This was them trying to drag me down with them. My previous resolve hardened into steel. I forwarded the text to Genesis. My message was short, time for phase 2. Genesis's response was immediate. On it. Let's bury them. Phase 2 wasn't just waiting. It was proactive. Using the meticulously collected documentation, the contract, the timestamps of their social media posts from Arizona while defaulting, evidence of the abandoned business, Daniel's threat text, Genesis helped me prepare a report. A report alleging not just default, but premeditated fraud related to the business loan and their intentional abandonment of their obligations. This report went to the bank's fraud department and, through channels Genesis knew, to certain state and federal agencies that dealt with business and financial accountability. Then came the strategic leak. Anonymously, key documents, the loan contract with the damning clause highlighted, screenshots of Stella's debt-free posts, contrasted with bank notices, Daniel's threatening text, were shared with a financial watchdog website known for exposing corporate and personal financial malfeasance. The effect was immediate and explosive. Comment sections on Stella's social media blew up overnight. Must be nice to live it up while your sister's paying your bills. Scammers. Deadbeats. The story was picked up by smaller online news outlets, detailing the abandoned business loan and the surprise clause. Public shaming was a consequence Stella, in particular, could not handle. My parents, reeling from the collection agency and the public embarrassment, demanded one last family dinner. To talk things through. Like adults. I knew it was a trap, another attempt at manipulation, but I agreed. I went, bringing my folder, wearing my most professional, unyielding expression. The dinner was tense. Mom had cooked my favorite lasagna, the scent hanging heavy with passive aggression and forced nostalgia. I ate politely but sparingly. Dad cleared his throat. Chloe, the collection agency they're being relentless. That's what they do about $50,000, I said, placing my folder on the table. Let's talk about it. All of it. I opened the folder. I laid out the spreadsheet. Here, I said, my voice steady. $28,000 for Dad's surgery. $40,000 taken from my college fund for Stella's art school. $12,000 for the down payment on her first car. This is just a partial list. Total. Significant enough to have bought me a house years ago. I then produced the loan contract, folded open to section 7.3, and placed it next to the spreadsheet. And this is the $50,000 loan you co-signed and guaranteed, which you are now solely responsible for. Because you signed this. Mom pushed the spreadsheet away. We're not here to dwell on the past. You brought up the debt, I countered. The debt is a result of the past. Your past decisions to enable Stella and expect me to carry the load. We raised you. Dad said, his voice rising. You gave Stella everything, I said. I earned everything I have, including the ability to read a contract and understand consequences. I looked them both in the eye. That lake cabin, I said quietly. The one you always said would come to me? You tied it to Stella's loan. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think, even then, that if things went wrong, my inheritance, my future, would be the collateral for her irresponsibility? They exchanged a guilty look. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken accusations and regret. Did you know? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Did you know deep down that Stella and Daniel would fail? That they would run? And you signed anyway expecting, what? That I would just step in again? That your strong daughter would clean up the mess you helped create? Their silence was the answer. They might not have planned the exact outcome, but they planned on escaping consequences, either by relying on Chloe's credit or by minimizing their own risk while maximizing hers. We'll lose the house, Dad said, his voice broken. Then sell the lake cabin, I said. It was tied to the loan. It's part of the consequence. But your inheritance. Mom cried, clutching her chest. My inheritance, I repeated, standing up, was spent years ago, bailing out the daughter you always prioritized. This, I gestured at the table, the spreadsheet, the contract. This is the final receipt. I walked towards the door. Call the collection agency. Set up a payment plan. Sell whatever you need to sell. I'm done handling things. Chloe, please. Mom called after me, tears streaming down her face. What will people think? I paused at the door, turning back to look at them, perhaps for the last time with the weight of expectation between us. A faint smile touched my lips. They'll think you're finally facing consequences, I said. How does that feel? Outside, sitting in my car, my hands on the steering wheel, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilarating lightness. My phone buzzed. A text from Genesis. Phase 2 hitting hard. News spreading. Looks like Stella and Daniel are having significant new life challenges out west. Another text came in. From my father. We thought you wouldn't actually go through with it. I typed back a single line. That's always been your problem. Then I turned off my phone. I straightened my desk calendar in my mind. I had meetings tomorrow. Work to do. Bills to pay. My own bills. Because, finally, I wasn't paying anyone else's anymore. The weight was lifted. I was free.